I'm a massive advocate of this eco paper, Jackson's eco paper. There's a really slight texture on it from the mesh of where it was made, how it was made I suppose, which I'm not so keen on, but it's really good because you can pull it off and leave these lovely raw edges. And I think this paper's got a massive potential. It's really, really hard, difficult to cut, fantastically responsive to colour, to acrylics particularly, but anything really. A really nice paper, Jackson's eco paper. There'll be a link so you can buy it, and I get an affiliate percentage of the buy. But this is really nice stuff. And we're using this today because of all its qualities, the textures and stuff. It just takes and marks really nicely. You just have to experiment with it. For instance, on these, like you can just pull it off and it reveals the layer underneath. And I'm just experimenting here. You've got these lovely bits as well, and you get these gorgeous textures where the surfaces that hasn't been pressed, hasn't got the mesh on it, are, and you get these beautiful rivulets and things in it, little marks. So it's just a really nice responsive paper. You know, you can really play with it. So I'm wanting to make an abstract. Somebody's commissioned one in pinks and blues, and I started doing this one, and she's not keen on the circle, which I love, but that's great because I can use this again. So I'm just going to show you how I do these and show you the process. So I've got a canvas board which I think is 12 by 24, and I begin first of all by opening it, which I always find really hard. Okay, opening it, and then I'm going to measure an edge, because what I like is an edge for the pieces to breathe in. So instead of putting a float on it, I'll measure it up and make an edge. So my edge on this one, 4.5 centimetres I've got on that. Push that out of the way. And I'm going to mark this off, masking tape it. So 4.5 all the way around. 4.5 centimetres. And you can mark this off with a coloured pencil. When you draw your lines, use a coloured pencil that's going to be part of the colours in your composition. I'll show you. And then when you take the masking tape off, there isn't a grey line, you know, there isn't the carbon line of this, of the pencil. I'll show you. And it works much better than a carbon line. It doesn't have to be exact because our eyes aren't that brilliant at telling straight lines, but it has to be reasonable because our eyes can see them. So get your coloured pencils out. Choose a colour going to be in the image. There's a lovely purple, so I'm going to use that one. There's a light pink. I think I might use that one. Okay, I'm using a light pink. Make sure it's nice and sharp. In this case, get a nice long ruler and mark out your edge so that you can mask it off. It just doesn't have to be really strong, just enough so that you can see it. To run your masking tape too. And if you want to rub out these, you can not mark it out in a pencil in the first place, but you can rub the pencil marks out, because you do see them when you pull off the masking tape. I think you do. I don't trust this ruler, it looks bent to me. It might be from use. There you go, so you want those. Then I've got 2-inch masking tape. Just tidy it up a bit. And I'm going to run the 2-inch masking tape around it, taking it as close to the edge as I can, but keeping it just very slightly away from it, so that again you're definitely going to cover up the mark, and the mark's not going to be obvious. Masking tape is never. The masking tape's always slightly bent, so keep it just to the off side of your line, because then you definitely know you're going to cover up your line with your paint. It's sort of slightly curved, you can't just run it across. You have to make sure that it sits, so you sort of touch it to the middle and then touch it to the end. And just keep an eye on it, because it doesn't necessarily run completely straight. Now in this case, it just got a slight edge, so you could just bend it over, which is perfect. Okay, so once you've done that, make sure it's down. Then I've got some heavy body paste and a brush that I'm happy to use for this thing to apply this with. And I'm just, this seals the edge of your masking tape, so I'm just applying this to the edge. It's just, I mean, some people say use a filler of some sort, you know, like a cork, a builder's cork. It depends on how much you want to spend on. I'm just making sure that the products have got a longevity, because I'm doing this to sell. So you just seal the edges, and it stops the colour from seeping out underneath the masking tape. And I mean, I don't care about the textures, but you might. So that's the first stage of that done. And I'm going to prepare another board while I'm at it, because I'll use these all the time. The next thing I do is make a rough template. So, a straight edge. So straight edge there, straight edge there, straight edge there, and I want it just a bit in from there and a bit in from there. So a bit in from there. Okay, so this is going to be my template for the piece that's going to sit inside it, the piece of paper that I use to make nice textures. In any case, it's a rough template, so I'm just going to roughly cut it out, because in fact I don't particularly like straight lines in any case. And then I'm going to make some inners to go add the texture to these, so that should sit inside there nicely, leaving a gap, because again there's all these things that I've learnt that I like, which is a slight, so I like a gap that's going to be painted, and I like the white border that's going to be left, and then I'll frame it, and then I like these to just sit within that. It's going to be something like that. I am actually quite happy with that one. And then get this gorgeous stuff, which is Jackson's Eco Paper, and it's just lovely textured paper of different densities. That one's quite flexible, and this one is incredibly hard. It's quite difficult to cut as well, so you can choose the densities that suit you and suit the depth of the work that you want. So for this you need your cutting mat, you need your template, and you need your card, and you need to sort of decide how you want it. I mean, I like these lovely frayed edges. Pencil. So I'm just gonna roughly again draw around my template. Whoops. And then I do cut them out with a ruler and a Stanley blade, but I will soften those edges after. It isn't easy to cut, as you can see. You have to give it some welly. Let's finish up this edge. Oh, I cut through the metal there. And keep all the bits because they're lovely for other bits of collage. And then how I soften the edges is I run a Stanley blade down the edge And you choose as well which side you want first, because they're slightly different each side. I think I want this side. Yeah, I'm going to stick with this side because I've got that far. So I've roughed up the edges, roughed up the middle a bit. Then I'm going to put quick drying wood glue on it. All over, generously, because I want this to really, really stick down. And I can use this PVA glue because this thing isn't going to be framed. And any gases that it might make that might rot the papers are going to be able to escape. The gases that it makes that rot the papers are a problem if it's in a book or if it's in a frame, a book that's going to be closed, you know, because it traps the gases and the gases rot the paper. Again, I suppose the PVA mediums would work, but I want something really, really strong. And they are strong glues, but I want something that's going to really stand the test of time. And because I know the gases can escape, I know that it's not a problem. So I just spread it really well, make sure there's no lumps in it, and right up to the very edge. And then I'm going to sit it on the board, position it, and then I'll put a weight on it to make sure it dries completely flat. I'm just making sure it goes into all the little corners and right to the very edges all the way around the board, and position it. Make sure it's equal, that there's enough of a distance around the edge. The edge shows, but not too much. And then you can see it wants to lift a bit. And anywhere that, especially on the edges, that it feels like, that you think it feels like it wants to come up, make sure you get it down. A bit of extra glue on there. Make sure it's happy to go down. This glue is really good because it's quick drying. You've got those few moments where you can really position it, but then it actually sticks really fast. And any bubbles like this that come out, they will sort of show on the piece. Okay, that's nicely settled down, and I'm going to put it on the floor on a flat surface. I put a board on top of it large enough to cover the piece, and then I put a weight on top of it and leave it overnight. So I've got colours here, so magenta, ultramarine, purple, that's a rusty brown, burnt sienna gold, orange, dark ochre and red, and this is the dark blue, Prussian blue, and that's a colder blue, I think. I can't believe it, I forgot to film it, but I'm just so easy done, I'm out of the habit. But I'm just adding colour, just to begin colour. What I want to do is develop it so that it's got these lovely depths of colours, this one. The customer didn't like the circle, so I'm redoing it without a circle and see if she likes it, but I love the circle. And she wanted it was sort of more pinks, and she wanted it more purples. It was pinks and light blues, but you have to put the light blues and things on because you have to allow the colours to develop rather than just slapping, you know, colours on from the beginning. So I begin sort of adding just colours. I mean, even that's a bit almost too sporadic there, and probably I should have wet this paper so that the colour dissipated a bit more first. But I'm just building up the colour. I'm not expecting this coat to be the final. So I will let this dry and then add more so that some of the original base colours shine through like it does here. And then you see what you can do is sprinkle on more colour, or however you want to apply it, so it has these gorgeous effects when it dissipates through it because of the way the water is on there, and we wanted it rusty. And I'm going to put gold on it as well. So it's going to be rust and gold and purples. And it's difficult because I'm trying to do it for someone else, this, to please someone else. They're not really colours I'd use, but I do love the way that these colours are in fact sitting, so I would definitely do this again because I think it's truly lovely. So we'll see what happens. You see, I love this. That was a rust put on quite early doors, but thin, and just the glow of it is nice. Whereas now it's all just going to go dark and greys. You know, I'm not going to get that lovely glow of yellow. But you know, I like that, but I don't think my customer would. So I think that's too light for her. So I'm going to actually take that out. You know, it's got too much yellow. It's to go with her decor, isn't it? Well, that's looking a bit better. And I don't think she likes the light blue either. But I can take that down as purple. I just want it to hum through afterwards. So I am going to try and leave that now. So I want it more these colours. I'm just going to add a few more bits of colour. And I'm not... You know, I can't be prescriptive about this. I can't tell you exactly what I'm doing because I respond to what happens. You see, that's a very purpley blue, I think. I love it. And I love the way, you know, you can add it to this piece and it has these lovely effects, you know, that you can peel it back off. That was the... No, what colour is that? I don't know what colour that is. That's what I thought was the purple brown, and it's not, is it? It's just a lovely sort of deep magenta. And I've got a bit of ochre in that just to take that down, take the pink off. Because the lady wanted rusts, and this is really beautiful purple. So, oops, that's a piece that's come off. I don't want that on there. Now this is where I don't want... It's so difficult for me because I don't like that sort of purple. I don't like the how unnatural it is. But she loves it, and it's going to go with her room. I mean, I've sort of given you colours and then not been very helpful with them, but it's up to you, and it'll depend what colours you've got in your palettes. And also, like, it even depends. I bought these paints that I've got ages ago, and they've changed. You know, I got a new lot recently, and they weren't the same colours as when I first originally bought them. They've really changed. You'll notice as well the colours get very intense when the thing is wet, and then when it's dry it dulls down, so it is difficult to tell, you know, how far it's going with it. I love this. And again, it's very difficult because I'm doing this for a customer and I'm trying to preempt what she likes and the colour palette she wants. And not impose my own opinion on it too much. That was a lovely blue, I don't mind that there. Right now I'm going to try and get this more purpley without going too purple. So I'm going to go for that lovely magenta and the pink again, just to see what happens. The deep, that's a magenta, and this must be some sort of dark magenta. It's beautiful. But again, and it's I put a lot of water on so that it bleeds through, and it bleeds through into all the lovely cracks that the paper makes. I'm trying not to forget the edges but of course the edges are sealed with your thick impasto mix, you know, to seal the actual masking tape onto the side. So you have to apply more paint because it doesn't stay on there. You know, it's not being so absorbed as it is on the paper. I might do that at a later date. And then I'm going to mix an amount of that one with a bit of, just to make it a really lovely rust. So I've got orange and this beautiful rusty brown. Now here goes, just flick it on there. And you could make it dissipate through more by just adding a spray, you know, spray it with water. What's really nice about this as well is that when the lady comes, I can actually, she doesn't have to have it the day she comes, I can actually add to it, can't I? Right, and there's the gold as well, because she wants gold on it. So let's start with the gold. Yeah, that's lovely, good dollops of it as well. Well, honestly, I think that's about it. It takes the paint so nicely. I've got loads of paint left. I don't know what I'm going to do with all that. So I think I've just got to let that dry and see what happens. What I'm going to do as well is, let me just put that out the way. I'm going to get a nice piece of cartridge paper and just use the paints and the colours that she likes, and again apply them in much the same way. So don't expect it to happen at once. And I don't like the marks and that. So I'm just going to see if my spray will... Yeah, you see it's moving, the marks have gone. And I'm going to go for the purple again. But at this, you know, I'm going to scrunch this up so that it creates another texture. Sort of don't overdo the development at this point. It's the basic coat, you have to wait till the development comes. That's the cerulean blue, which I absolutely love. I'm not sure she does though. But I'll put it on and then I'll cover it up in the next layer. The idea is I'm going to take some of this and scrunch it up and use a piece as a bit of abstract strip across it. So that's going to take a while because it's got to dry, and then I'm going to put some more colour on it. I'm going to go a bit more bold with the blue, with the gold, and then just see what happens. So I've made a couple of pieces and dried them quickly. But looking at the paintings, I think they probably need something contrasting, not the same over the top of it. Although the same also might work. It's difficult, isn't it? Because if you have a number of pieces available, if you've already painted loads of pieces, then you have all this stock at your fingertips, whereas when you're trying to do a painting, well, sometimes when you don't have enough pieces, what I'm trying to say is you always seem to require something else. You always seem to require a bit more, you know, and you haven't got the piece that you want. So I'm going to try, I did like the idea of it being golden rust, so I'm going to try that a bit as well. And I'm going to put it on thick because I I know that when I fold it and crack it, all the thicknesses sort of go, and I wanted the blues to show through a bit as well, the blues and the purple, so we'll just see what happens, because it's changing from what I first thought I needed. You see, I absolutely love that, you know, that's, you should keep a piece, that's blue with gold on top, and it's sort of dirty, but I really like that. So I know it's supposed to be purple, but I shouldn't be doing that in my blue. But I do like this cerulean blue in it, it just seems to hum in it. So that's completely changed, but let's just see what happens. Because what I like is to scrunch them and then crack the surface and then add more colour. So that's one. I like that. I really like that as a piece. And then this one, and it just, because what's nice about them is when there's a contrast, when you crack them. So say you did it all gold and then cracked it and put the purple in it, or I'm going to try doing more cerulean, and I'm obliterating the colour underneath, but that doesn't matter. Like so, yeah, that's better, not so thick. And the pinky purple I liked as well, so let's go on with that. In terms of, you know, the image that I've got, yeah, okay, go for something like that. And it's so amazing, you know, as much as you try, your mark, like my heavy-handed mark, comes through. And somebody who has a more delicate way of approaching things, that would come through. So I've got a rust and I've got the copper here, and I'm just going to see what happens when it's painted. I want a bit more gold on there. And again, just see what happens when it's cracked. Oh, I mean, that's lovely on the blue. Let's see what happens. Again, you see, I'm experimenting. I've got lost it. I just love those colours. And it's not necessarily going to go with my image. I just got carried away. So I'm going to let those dry now. I'm still not happy with this one. I didn't like the evidence of the brush strokes so much. See what happens if I paint over that blue. The glaze, yeah, that's lovely. Even over the gold is nice. So over here with some purple. Let's see what happens there. And I did want to keep it light, not too dark. That's gone too dark. I could put a yellow in there. We'll see what happens. I really like the gold just coming through it slightly. Well, I'm happier with that actually. We'll see what happens when I come to folding it. And this one, that one I think is okay. It's just the gold is taking so long to dry. So I've got my two pieces of paper and I'm going to mummigami them. You start from the outside and you break the sort of tension of the edges first, because otherwise they rip. But I don't mind this ripping, and I do have a video on this as well. I'll put it in the link below, and also you'll see it come up on the screen. But this is quite a laborious process, and I'm not going to make you watch it. But you just fold it until you've got enough creases that you're happy with. So I'll do that to both pieces, and then I'll show you what you do when you add the colour. So I've got these lovely pieces of paper all scrunched up where the surface has been broken in cracks by the folding, and you can do it as much as you like. As you progress, the whole thing becomes softer, it's not so hard on your hands, and you can fold it, like concertina it, so that you really do break its tendency to have the same sort of folds. You'll see this all in the other video, in my Momigami video. But you end up with these, and then from this you take out strips. Now I'd videoed it before and it had failed. So the last one I took out a couple of strips from the pieces that I like. There is this beautiful maroon rust colour through the middle of this, so I tried to use that. So I got a gold one, like so, that's pure gold, and then I got another piece that's, I've put a bit of purple on, so I'm going to show you that one again. So I got my, I love that one, I can't use that one. I got my more gold piece and I cut a strip, so I'm just taking a thin strip of it. And I like them, even I don't like them wibbly wobbly. I think I've got to think about horizontals and verticals. And you just get your purple paint and you just paint it across, and it sits in your grooves like so. So you just get these really, really subtle, lovely things happening. And obviously you can see it's really, really simple and really easy. And you can even rub them in, rub it across, see what happens. And then you can just let it dry. I mean, I think that's lovely in any case, so I could add that to that as well. But in fact, that one's got a bit more purple in it. And seeing as the customer wants purple, don't do it on your thing, because obviously but you see, it just sits on it. You can just leave it to sit and dry in puddles. You can force it into the cracks with your fingers. You can even fold it up and squidge it about, and then it goes through to the other side as well. So that's lovely in itself and has a really beautiful effect. In fact, I do like that one. I'll have to leave that because that's so nice. I'll have to let that dry. I'm sure my customer will like that, so I'm going to put that on this as well. Just make it a bit more purple. That's too much. Let's wipe it off a bit. You see, it's just lovely. It has this gorgeous effect. I think this one even needed a bit now. No, I'm going to leave that because I'm going to see what it's like when it's burnished up with this stuff I've got. Okay, see you for the next bit. Enjoy. So I've ended up with all these lovely little bits, which we've made, the Momigami and everything, and I like all the textures. The customer's happy with these colours, and I'm happy with the colours on this one. So now it's a question of sort of deciding how I'm going to put these on and if I'm going to put them on. So I like the blue on the edge of that one, but whether they will or not, and I like the funny shape of that. Something like that is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to apply these with the gloss medium. So I'm going to seal this. I do think I want a bit more of this blue over here, but no, because the customer's seen this, so I'm going to leave it as is. And now I'm just going to put these on, apply these. So I'm just going to add a load of, oops, I didn't mean to do that. So I'm going to add a bit of gloss medium and start getting these down. And I don't mind that I've spilt it everywhere because I want the gloss medium on everything in any case. It's one way of applying it. It's really a varnish and to seal the whole thing, and also to glue these down. But yeah, perfect. Oh, it's good if I make mistakes, isn't it? You can see that everybody makes mistakes. It's by no means perfect. There's a couple of things that I'm not pleased with actually. I've forgotten to do the edges of this. I want the edges a bit more intense. One way of ruining your scissors, but getting loads of this gloss medium everywhere. I'm just going to get off this. Okay, and then how much of this do I want? Do I mind that it's a bit organic? The shape isn't as perfect as I'd like, but I'm going to leave it organic. So that's 1, 2. Really make sure I'm happy with the length of this. Too much on this side, just minimally. And this one. I'll take this off. And this. Cool, I'm glad I wore gloves for this one. Then I don't want it angled, I want it straight. I'm trying to bear in mind all the time the customer and not my aesthetics this time, which is really hard, isn't it? You're never quite sure that you've got it right. And then I think I want that over and under sort of thing, like so. But I really like the gold in that. And again, for the customer, I think it works well. I'm going to need a bit more glue underneath this bit, or adhesive. And then do I put this there as well? Yeah. And even does she want it with that light blue on it? Yeah, that's going down there. Okay, and a bit more of this, which, because I've gone so far, I'm just going to rub in. This is to seal the paint on the edges as well. And I'm hoping I've got enough paint on the edges, because I will reveal it in a minute. And there's a horrible little spot there which I don't like. And then just really, ease it down. Don't let it lift off anywhere. I want all the edges as flat as can be. I want it almost like it's got a, what's it called? A resin over the top of it. I mean, you could put a resin over the top of it as well, couldn't you? Okay, that can go to one side and dry. And now I just want to have a go at this one as well. Do I leave it those colours? I mean, there is something really lovely about it. My inclination is to go more blue. I'm going to, because otherwise they're colours that I personally wouldn't really use. I mean, I do like them and I do think they're beautiful, but I like colours that are a bit more organic, and that one, those colours to me feel a bit, unnatural. And I think what I want is some more of this blue, which I do really like. So I'm just going to quickly bung a bit of that on before I glaze it. You could apply the paint after you've glazed it, and then you glaze it again, but be careful. So I've mixed some up with some water, and this is the ultramarine, and it's got this lovely purple look to it, hasn't it? And because I want this a bit more blue, so I suppose in some ways I want it reminiscent of some sort of liquid rather than what I feel it is at the moment, which is a bit like a piece of metal or something. I want it to Yeah, to resemble some sort of liquid. And I can't believe that that, on top of everything else, this does provide a really lovely, funny glaze quality on top of the other colours. And again, you've got to experiment with what you like. So you choose your colour combinations, and then sort of you will be expected to sort of have some sort of integrity about it. Obviously, you can't always, because you have to sell. But, you know, as in, I really like it being a more natural colour, more something that might occur in nature, rather than the sort of intense colours of the purples, which is in fact like, you know, is an expensive pigment, was because it was so difficult to find, which is why the royalty used to wear it, wasn't it? Purple and the dark blues. Right, I am hoping that's going to work in the long run, alongside other stuff that I might produce. You know, it doesn't scream of something else. For instance, if I can find them, this is another piece of my work, and these are others. So they're sort of quite simplistic, quite minimalistic. Even that blue is just, there's a gorgeous intensity about it. Very commercial. I'm sure somebody will absolutely love it. Whereas this is a bit weird, isn't it? Whether you'd want green in your room. Oh, I did want a bit of blue on this. I'm just going to touch it over a bit. I just wanted a bit more and I put some on and then lost confidence, but of course it dries out to almost nothing, so I'm just going to add a bit more of this blue with a bit of confidence. You see, look, I felt it was too intense, but it dries out so you can hardly see it. It's on so thin. It's a funny colour, this, as well. It's sort of very purple. It's got beautiful sort of intensities about it. In any case. Right, I'm going to leave that to one side. I'm hoping that it's going to mellow down. It's a bit too intense at the moment. I've overdone the blue, but we'll see. I mean, it is an amazing colour. I don't know whether I filmed that, but I've added some green because I want it to be a bit more earthy. So this is just Hooker's green, which is a colour I really love, actually. And it does make it a bit more earthy. But I still think it needs a bit more, some grey in it or something. But it's gone very dark, and I almost wish it hadn't, but of course I can do another one. I like those sort of colours there. So maybe you just accept that this is dark. I might put just a bit of grey in through here. So where did I say I'd put some grey? I don't want that for a start. Let me just see what happens. I think that's a bit more interesting. And it's sort of a verdigris sort of colour, isn't it? So I'm just going to try it. And again, you can keep adding to these, can't you? I think what it's doing is it's taking down some of the intensities of the colours. It's taking the intense tones out, the intense strength of the pigment, which is what I wanted a bit. And to me, it's making it a bit more interesting. See, I'm hardly adding anything. And you can sort of add it to the surface, or you can get it to go into the depths, like so, and then just leave it in there, but take it off the surface. Or if it's wet enough, I suppose it'll dribble off the tops. Oops, it's got white in it, isn't it? And go into the depths. Okay, again, I'm happier with that. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Or happier. Just taking that intense green out. But I mean, the intense green was beautiful, but it wasn't what I wanted. And even like there, I love that sort of almost smoky hue that the white gives it. And so the very last bit is to put on this gilt cream. I use it to touch up frames when the corners have been broken or slightly chipped, or there's areas of damage. This stuff is for putting onto the frames. You use a colour that suits the frame and then you can burnish it up afterwards. So that is just Neighbouring gilt cream, and I'm going to use a gorgeous sort of dull gold for this. I just need my gloves. I'd done an abstract that was in the shop, and this customer came in, really loved this abstract, but wanted it in colours to suit her decor. So I'm just getting a piece of fabric and I just get a scoop of it and rub it into the edges and the surfaces. You have to go with it a bit because I don't think it, I mean, I think you could probably get it off with some turpentine, but the whole idea is just for this particular customer is to add that little bit of bling, and because it touches on the surfaces and the textures of it, you get these gorgeous strange way that it behaves, and you can use it to mellow out the harsh marks of the abstract tape, and it doesn't look half so solid. And you can put really large lumps of it on and fill in areas, or you can just touch over the surface, and then when it's dry you can really burnish it up. So that then has a really nice effect. I will cut off any bits that don't sit down properly. This has to go on after you have put the acrylic medium on, because the acrylic medium is plastic and this is oil based. And I mean, you could use a paint, but I just really like the effect of this, and I like the way it burnishes up afterwards. So having done that, you would then peel off your edge, and you've got this really nice clean edge left over from the masking tape. And anything that's slightly damaged, like a corner, I then apply a emulsion, a calico emulsion I use, calico coloured emulsion, just to clean up the white around the edge. But then once you've cleaned up the edges, I then put it in a lovely, very smart frame. And that's it. Very plain, smart frame. You've got a beautiful little abstract with textures and some bling. So there's that one, and then there was this one, and this one is a much more blue, and I'm going to try this one with some silver. And again, you have to really sort of almost go with what happens. And yeah, that's nice. Just a sort of rub of, if you just have a rub of gold, just some that's on your cloth, so it's not very evident. I've got a bit of silver on there. I don't like this copper blemish, so although I like the copper, but I just want it taken down a bit. So I'm going to put a bit more of the silver on that copper because I'm not sure I like it. Just make it disappear a bit. And this will dry on there. And presumably you can buy all sorts of colours in this. I'm not going to do much more of that on there. I think I'm going to leave it, see whether I like it sort of in the future. And that's the two of them done. Take the edge off this one. Not easy with this one. If you look at your nails, lift it. There we go. Oh, I like that. That looks a lot better once the edge has been taken off, actually, doesn't it? Oh yeah, that one's worked. Oh, I like that now. Yeah, I'm pleased with that now. In fact, I'm just going to stop. So thanks for watching. That's two of them done. I'm going to do a whole series of these because I really like the effect of the textures, and I'm going to learn and play with the textures until I feel it's nice. Okay, thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something from it. I hope you get the chance to give it a go. All the best. See you again.